In this episode of the Conscious Entrepreneur Show, it's all about women, leadership, career, and confidence. And I think you're really going to benefit from my friend and colleague, Valerie Martinelli. She's the founder of Ask VMC. She helps women make more money, find the job that's right for them, create killer resumes, overcome imposter syndrome. We touch on a lot in this interview. And if you're someone who's looking to find the job that might be right for them, if you're looking to take your career game to the next level, maybe if you're in the middle of struggling right now in terms of which direction do I really want to go in, this interview is going to benefit you in incredible ways. I hope you enjoy. So glad that you're with us for another episode of the Conscious Entrepreneur Show, where we have three intentions. First, we want to build trust. I want you to get to know me, and I want you to have a chance to experience my guest and see the way that they approach things. Second, we want to deliver, or hopefully over deliver, value. And third, we want you to leave with at least one strategy, technique, action, or mindset shift that you can use to grow your business. So excited to be here with someone today that I've known for a while, proud to call her a colleague and a friend, and that is Valerie Martinelli, who is the owner and founder of Valerie Martinelli Consulting. She's a job search and career expert, a resume writer, and a personal branding professional who specializes in helping mid-level and senior-level job seekers and career changers land jobs, raises, and find their dream careers, which I think sounds pretty cool. She's helped many candidates find the right career in less time and negotiate job offers, resulting in salary increases of 15K to 60K plus and positively impacting their career trajectories and earning potential. So Valerie, thanks so much for being with us today. So tell us, let's just dive right in. What drew you toward helping people in their job search?
Thing that I was doing for quite some time on the side, and I just really had a passion for it. The more you see people do well and succeed in their life, the more you just want to do it. At least for me, the more I saw my clients succeed, and even though I wasn't monetizing it at the time, right? It didn't matter to me because I saw people being able to do really, really well with themselves and being really satisfied with the things that they found. It just drew me more and more and more to it.
Yeah. So how did you decide to go from something that you were maybe just being asked about, or you were helping in the capacity as a friend, or I mean, is this something you were doing in your professional capacity? Like, what caused you to make the leap from whatever you were doing before to actually having a business supporting people in this?
So I was sort of doing this in my professional capacity a little bit. I was running a mentorship program, and again, just really having the passion for that and being able to see those girls do well was something that really kept drawing me back to it. And it just every time I thought about what is it that I want to do, when you're unhappy with what you're doing and you sit down and you think about it, what is it that actually drains your cup and what is it that fills your cup, right? And the thing that fills your cup to me is the thing that you should be spending more time doing. And I do this with my clients too, because that's the thing that's going to give you joy every day. I really think we don't want to spend time on the things that are draining us. So I just kept going back to this every day over and over. This is the thing that brings me joy. And so I just landed on the idea of, wait a minute, why aren't I doing this full time all the time?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Talk about some of the challenges in the early days of starting your business. I know we have people who are at all stages in their business journey who watch this show, but tell me, what were some of the biggest kind of obstacles, struggles, challenges that you faced when you were just getting your practice off the ground?
Gosh, what challenges aren't there, right? From bootstrapping all the way to how do you find your first, second, third client? How do you elicit testimonials? How do you even put yourself out on social media? How do you even want to put yourself out on social media? What do you say? What's the right thing to say? Um, Website, branding colors. I got so much advice about colors. Don't use this color, don't use that color. Um, it became too much noise in my head. Just how to even move forward. What do you do first? And what do you do second? What do you do third? And then how do you even know you're doing them in the right order? That was one thing for me that I felt like, well, if I do this first, this second, this third, am I going to make a mistake? Because am I doing them in the wrong order? Is there a right order or a wrong order?
Yeah. Is there? Yeah. So what are some of the things that work for you then in terms of getting clients, or what are some of the things that you figured out were like effective in terms of your niche, your personality?
Was networking and then referrals. Referrals became immediately one of my biggest source of clients. Just being able to constantly do a good job and then rely on that, the fact that I was always doing good work and knowing that my clients were going to go back and tell either their coworkers or their family, their friends, or whoever. It didn't really matter at that point, right? Because it still doesn't really matter, to be honest with you, because people know people. And no matter who that is, it's the opportunity to talk to someone and it's the opportunity to connect with them and to see if they're the right person to work with or not, and to see how you can serve them. And sometimes serving them is leading them to the next best thing.
I think that those are important things, and I would also encourage people to really systematize those efforts, right? So if you're asking for referrals, make sure that you're doing it regularly. Perhaps consider having some kind of structured incentive program for your referral partners. Consider even having maybe some kind of categorization system of these are, kind of my highest value, referring partners, the people that sort of send me the most. These people are maybe in some kind of middle layer. These people are in an outer layer, more of acquaintances, right? I ask them from time to time. But I think, and the same thing with networking, right? Getting it on the calendar, making sure that you're intentional and that you have a strategy before you go into these events, making sure that you have your kind of elevator pitch and you know what you want to say and what your goal is going into the event, and then that you have kind of a structured and a tracking system for actually following up. Because I think a lot of times people are doing a lot of these things, there's a lot of energy and effort going toward it, but without the structure, it's very difficult for it to produce any kind of result.
Agree with that. I agree with that. And I remember in the very beginning, I was making that mistake. I was going to a lot of networking events that weren't even right for me, to be honest with you. Things that I probably would never go to again now. And no offense to those people, but they're not doing the things that I'm doing. Right? And that's fine. They're in their niche, I'm in mine. Um, there's nothing wrong with that, but being more strategic, having that plan, knowing what it is that you want to go after, knowing who's right for you to talk to, I think are all very important things. Otherwise, you could just spend a lot of time and energy and sometimes even money going after all of those things, and none of them can pan anything out.
Yeah, really selecting events, I think, where your ideal clients are. Sometimes there's a tendency to go to networking events where other people in your industry are hanging out. And those people may or may not be your clients, and in many cases they aren't. So I think making sure that you're spending your time going to places where people are. Let's narrow down a little bit in terms of what you do specifically. So career coaching, resume writing. I mean, who who needs a career coach, right?
Anybody can use a career coach if you want to leave that door wide open. However, that's not who I work with. I work with mid-level and senior level professionals. I really feel like once you get to about the 5th to 7th year in your career, you really want to start thinking about what is it that you're doing. When we first graduate college, when we first finish school, and when we're first taking that first role, 90 something percent of the time, we're very happy to take what we're given. And we spend some amount of time in that role. We grow, we acquire skills. That's fine. But it's after that, I think we want to start thinking about the career path. right? And start planning things. What is it that we want to do? What's our ultimate goal? But how do we get there? Because otherwise, what I see people do, this is the mistake. They just go from roll to roll to roll to roll to roll to roll, and they jump around. And then, but none of those things that they take or none of those things that they do have any strategy towards getting them towards the ultimate goal, the ultimate thing that they want to do. So they're still miles away from what they want. And that's where I think being in a mid-level, it's really important to start seeking that help out so that you could start thinking about creating this plan on how you can do it, especially when you're in a job search, because again, now that's the perfect time.
Yeah, I think without some kind of framework for what you're doing, it's going to be very hard. Like you can just end up sort of where you end up, right? Which can be very frustrating, which, there's a lot of instability right now in terms of like the kinds of jobs and the kinds of titles that, are existing and that may continue to exist. There's just massive shifts, right? In the amount of, hours that we need to work. Obviously AI, which has been talked to death already, but there are and just not AI aside, other innovations that can sort of drastically change a sector of the economy.
thing that goes with that too, Michael, is your wages go up and down with it, right? When you do things like that, and a lot of people don't realize this, is your wages go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. But the problem is when they go down, it's really hard sometimes to recover to go back to where it is that you want to be or where what you should be earning, right? What the market analysis, the compensation analysis would say you should be earning. And so it's really hard, especially if you're now drop like $5,000, that's a little easier to recover. But now if you start cutting off like 10, 20, $30,000, it starts to get harder to recover that. And if you think about that, it starts to come back later into your retirement too, because now this is money you're not earning, so it's money you're not saving.
I know that some of your work focuses, or a lot of your work focuses specifically on women. Can you speak to, and I know this is a shift that you're kind of in the middle of right now. So can you speak to that shift and where it's coming from and maybe some of the unique challenges that, I mean, I realize some of these challenges are as old as time, but some of the challenges that women face, and kind of what drew you to adopt that particular focus.
So while the shift, it's not really a shift. It's kind of going back to my roots. When I first started, I was working with mainly with females. And then I kind of did a little bit of a market shift when COVID happened and started working a little bit more with males and females. And now, while my one-to-one still does sort of focus with males and females, it's the graduate level that I'm really focusing more with women. We have a lot of challenges that just still are not being addressed, not fully addressed. We're talking about them, but we're just not hitting the home runs on them that we need to. Breaking the glass ceiling. Look, we still haven't had a female president. We still haven't had we're still lacking women in higher levels of leadership in companies. It's still harder and harder to find women CEOs. While yes, we have more, we still don't have enough. We don't have enough women-owned in executive leadership. We're just not hitting the home runs that we need to, because the problem is we're not getting there, so we're not lifting each other up. And that's what we need to do.
What are the ways that you help women do that?
So by thinking about your leadership development skills and thinking about where it is that you want to be. And I think a lot of this is what we define as a leader is different for everyone, but I think how we can help each other in the workplace and outside of the workplace too, to be honest with you, just being a good person, but how we can help each other. And whether that's just lifting each other up, say through management, it doesn't mean that you have to necessarily be a vice president or an EVP. You could just be a manager and really try to help the person that you're managing. Try and teach her something new. Try and help her hone in on some skills. I think by figuring out what your leadership persona is, what your brand is, that it starts there, because then you can center yourself around that, and you can center your goals around that. And then from there, you can also center yourself with your organization or a new organization around that, right? Because then you can tell if you're a fit or not.
That's all well and good. But my question, I think, that I want to kind of follow up with is, like, in that framing of it, it sounds like the reason to do that is to like be a good person, and which I'm an advocate of. But I'm interested in like what's the reason why someone wants to, like, why does someone want to go out of their way to do these kind of things?
It's really what they're after, they're not getting, right? What they're after in their career, they're not achieving. They're not getting to those goals. If someone has something like imposter syndrome, it's keeping them back, right? If someone is dealing with, say, a situation with power and they're not overcoming that, if someone is having trouble dealing with politics in the workplace, not overcoming that. Um, it's really all about the dynamics. A lot of it is about dynamics and power.
Can you say more about that? So let's say that you're dealing with an imbalance of power in a workplace, you're dealing with a political situation. Just walk me through the ways that you would help somebody deal with that, or the things that you
Nine
could
times
support
out of
them on.
That's most women. That's what we deal with in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Most men have been able to get by for years, and we've just been walking on eggshells, smiling about it, doing things that we don't need to be doing, taking notes during meetings, and doing things that we don't need to be doing that aren't helping us get promoted. And this is
Okay.
why we don't achieve into the highest levels.
Yeah. So break down. So you teach women some strategies that can help them get toward their goals, achieve the things that they want, make more money. Um, I mean, what are the ways that you, I mean, like, let's take imposter syndrome, right? So what is it that you say to someone who's struggling with that? Or what are the kind of strategies that you use to kind of help them overcome that?
Sometimes can be different for everyone. So imposter syndrome is something we have to think about their confidence too, right? That's something you want to think about, building up someone's confidence and thinking about where they come from, with the place that they're coming from with that. Because with imposter syndrome, it's about what is holding you back and how to get you there. So what's that thing? So once I'm able to figure out what that thing is, then it's easier to help them achieve that with some strategies. And a lot of that, like I said, is building up confidence and showing them that they can do it. Risk taking. I think risk taking is a very big part of that.
How much of this is things that women themselves can do, and how much of this is cultural and systemic change that also needs to come from men?
That is very systemic, but I feel like if we don't keep fighting for it, then we're not going to get anywhere. And if we don't sit up and ask for it, again, we're not going to get anywhere.
Are there things that women can do to help change the attitudes of men, or help get men kind of enrolled in what I think is a very important cause?
I think we need to include men in this conversation. So I'm glad, that's a good question. I think we can continue to bring men in, and I think that we should, right? I think talking to the men in our lives is really important. You know, whether it's a friend, whether it's a brother, whether it's a partner, a spouse, I think we need to include them in the conversations and the things that we want. Having their support is going to mean everything, especially if it means a woman is going for senior leadership or something, right, at work. She's going to need the support at home.
Yeah.
And again, those go into the dynamics, right? Because think about how those power dynamics at home have been for years, decades, centuries.
So
And
what is it that you would
it's
say to then like the male leaders, or what is it you would just say to kind of men in general? Like, is obviously this is the right thing to do. Is there a benefit to men above and beyond that? Like, is there an economic benefit, or is there a creativity benefit in companies? Is there a diversity benefit? Like, what is it that you would say to men who are maybe stuck in their ways? Because I guess I view this as there are ways in which patriarchy hurts men too. That's not to equivocate, obviously, or to say that it's the same. But I wonder what your message is to the people who are still consciously or unconsciously enforcing this system.
to start becoming aware of our ways. There's benefits to all three, right? Because once we start to become more diverse, these are companies that start to become more economically stable. And we need to start thinking from not only just that perspective, right? Because not everything is money, 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 but these are companies, these are things that now younger generations are looking for in companies. These are things that when they want to work for a company, they look at, say, like the board and its senior leadership and executive leadership to see how diverse it is, right? So if you want to recruit talent that is the best, you really want to think from a more diverse perspective instead of being stuck in your ways. I understand why it's worked for them for years, but it's not, it's going to start to blow up.
And one of
Because
the places that people can go if they want to get more information about this, you have a fabulous section on your website that has 4 different ebooks that really goes into detail on some of the strategies. I know one of them is about kind of imposter syndrome. One of them is about competence. One of them is kind of a guide for job seekers. And one of them is resume mistakes. So, you know, we have limited time in this conversation. So it's like we can't go into each of these, but give people your website in case they want to get those resources.
So my main website is askbmc.com, and then from there there's a subheader for the ebooks.
Okay, fabulous. Yeah, and I would recommend that you all check those out. Very, very well done. Let's talk, because this show is called The Conscious Entrepreneur. I feel like we've talked about the business part of things. We've talked about the entrepreneurial side of things a little bit. Let's talk about the consciousness side of things. So what it is like, can we talk a little bit about your personal story, or maybe some of the personal kind of growth that you've experienced through running this business, through working with women?
Definitely think I've changed. I think I have grown, and I think that this has definitely helped me become more comfortable with my own story and where I started. Um, Knowing that where I began with getting denied my own salary increase was a big thing. And it took me years to get comfortable with that. Many years, because when that happens, I think there's a certain level, especially if you're a perfectionist, right? I think there's a certain level that starts to make you feel like I failed. That's it. I failed. And it's just not a good feeling. And then going back to school and trying to find something else that wasn't resonating completely. Again, you feel like I failed. I failed once. I failed twice. How many more times can I do this? But it's just shown me exactly how to help people. If you flip it around and you take it what you can and you learn from it, it just shows me exactly how to teach people what to do and what not to do.
Yeah. And I think failure is important. Like, we do fail in life in a sense that we don't always achieve the thing that we set out for, or things don't always go as we expected them. What would you say right now to somebody who's feeling like they've failed, their life is over, there's no point? You know, probably a point maybe you were at, definitely a point that I've experienced in my life. What's your message to somebody like that?
Just getting started. you may feel like your life is over. Your life is just starting. And I wish someone had told me that when I felt like I had failed, because I felt like I was at the end and things couldn't get better and that they were only going to continue to get worse. No, no, that's just you hitting a wall and coming to the end of maybe what you used to do, or maybe who you thought you were, or maybe what people in your life wanted you to be. But that doesn't mean that it's the end. There's a big difference there. Huge distinction. You are just starting.
Yeah, and I think there's a way in which if you're not failing, you're not kind of challenging
Growing.
yourself or setting goals that are, like high enough. Like I know sometimes people will be like, I close 90% of all my sales. It's like, I guarantee you're not having enough conversations. Do you know what I mean? If you're closing 90% of them, right? You're only having conversations that feel safe to you. You're only having conversations where you think it's already a done deal. Like in business, you're going to fail more times than you succeed in terms of the number of clients that you close. But you need a relatively small number of clients to actually be successful overall. And so I think some of that is just like a reframe, right? Like you said, like, what does this offer me? What's the learning here? What can I take from this? I want to ask you before we close out here. I know that you have a telesummit coming up that's about leadership for high achieving executive women. I'm wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about this. And when it is, and then where people, like, can people find you information about it on social, or, where people might be able to find more information about it, because this will actually be coming out, I think, about a week before the summit. So can you speak to what this event is, why you wanted to do it, and how people can find out more about it?
To do this because I felt like it was time, right? We see so many of these things, but I wasn't happy with them. I wanted to do my own. I wanted to put my own spin on it. And so mine will be the week of November 4th to the 8th. And I'm really excited about it because this is the first time I've ever done it. Talking about learning some things. Um, so I'm really excited because I think that this is going to be great. I think that there's going to be a lot to learn from. This will be a virtual summit, so it will be online. I should have the landing page up soon for everyone to be able to connect. But for now, stay tuned to social so that you can find that landing page. And I think that
And
there's
people
going
can
to be,
search like Valerie Martinelli or Valerie Martinelli Consulting.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
you'll be
links.
able
I
to
think
find
links
it.
are also on your website too, to that
Yep,
social. Yep. Okay,
yep,
cool.
yep.
Sorry, keep going.
I forgot what I was saying now.
Oh, so what's the reason why you wanted to do this summit?
So one of the reasons is this will actually be the thing that launches my group program, which I'm really excited about. And one of the other reasons is I really just thought this was a great time to get women together for something like this. There's no better time than now.
Yeah. Um, Thank you so much, Valerie, for sharing your wisdom with us and for being here today. And just one more time, where can people find out more information about you, about your services? I know there's so much more that we could have talked about and so much more that you do. I mean, you're a whiz when it comes to resume writing. You're an expert when it comes to personal branding, negotiation techniques. So I know that there's so much more that people have to learn from you. So just remind people one more time where they can find out more about you if they're interested.
Go to my website again, it's askvmc.com.
Thank you so much.